everybody. Welcome back to the I Play 2 podcast. I'm your host, Rob Adler. This week, former basketball player and current LaSalle assistant coach John Cox joins the show. In college, he played at San Francisco, where in 2004-2005, he had 621 points, which is the second most in a season over the last 40 years. Also, Coach Cox holds the USF record for most field goals attempted and was later inducted into their Hall of Fame. As a professional, he played a dozen years in France, represented Venezuela in the 2016 Summer Olympics, and was the 2017 leading scorer in the FIBA America. His cousin, NBA legend Kobe Bryant, was an 18-time All-Star and won 5 titles as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. Coach Cox, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be on and just excited to connect with you.
Thank you for doing this today. I appreciate it. How are things up in Philly?
Things are okay. Here at LaSalle University and got some new faces this year and looking forward to this 24-25 season. Got a new arena that we're opening this year. I think the conference at Atlantic 10 is going to be pretty strong again.
What's it like with the excitement of playing in a brand new arena?
It's real nice. Before, we had a Tom Gola arena, and it was legendary for obvious reasons because of everything that he accomplished. But now we have the John Glazer arena. Feels like a whole fresh start. Obviously, we're taking the plastic off of something, and our guys are excited.
For people who maybe aren't as familiar with LaSalle basketball and the university in general, could you tell people a little bit more about it?
LaSalle University is in Philadelphia, part of the Atlantic 10 Conference, and the likes of Dayton and VCU, and among other good universities. We also compete in something called the Big Five, which is different than other places in the country. It consists of 6 schools: LaSalle, Villanova, St. Joe's, Pennsylvania, Drexel, Temple. And those schools consist of the Big Five. So we also play in that every year outside of Atlantic 10, and there's a champion for that. LaSalle has a good plethora of NBA classic known players, one being obviously Tom Gola, famous L Train, Joe Bryant, Rasul Butler, Tim Legler, and a bunch of others. They're very legendary here in Philadelphia and throughout the Big Five. So we are very honored to be part of these schools, this league every year. And we try to play pretty good schedule outside of Philadelphia as well. That's LaSalle University. And of course, we have this arena here to bring some excitement to our fans and our players, and also good for the teams that are coming in.
As an NBA fan, getting a L Train Lionel Simmons reference, and then I'm a Mavericks fan as well, Tim Legler, that always was music to my ears.
They're just good guys and also just more heck of a players. So good NBA players that came from here, and hopefully we have some in the future.
You mentioned the Big Five, and I've actually never been there for a game, but I have been there. The Palestra, which is legendary in college basketball circles. What's it like to coach in that building?
Oh, man, the Palestra is historic. I mean, not even a coach. I had the opportunity to play when I was young. So I went to high school in Philadelphia, and we played in the Palestra in the finals in 1997 against Simon Gratz. So this was the first time I got an opportunity to play in the Palestra. It was just amazing. I think it's one of the, if not the most historic gym in the country, especially for college basketball. Now coaching in it, it's just as great. I think on any level, college, even high school, there's still huge high school games in there. It still gives you that older aura, but yet still of the new era. And there's so many great players that came through there. So many great coaches. If anybody ever visits, just advise you to take a walk around the halls, and all the history is there. And I think it's a treat if you're a basketball fan at all or into basketball. It's a place you want to visit.
When you first played there, did you understand the aura that it has that you just talked about, or was that something you kind of learned about later on?
I knew about it, but it felt different playing, and mainly just because of the crowd. Like when there's a game, it feels electric. It's hard to explain to you're in it. I felt that as young. I was actually 15 years old, my sophomore year, and you could feel it. So you hear about it, but until you're in there, you really don't know. And you can feel it from the fan perspective too. My cousin Kobe played a huge high school game there, I think his senior year against Chester. It's just really different.
Did you and Kobe ever talk about playing there and just what it meant?
It's weird. So we were young, I felt it, but you didn't realize how kind of it was till you got older. Did we talk about it? Not so much. It was the moment I remember they beat Chester and a guy named John Linehan, now coaches at BYU, was the leader of that team. That was just a really iconic moment. Some clips that you see now of Kobe, you'll see that game. It's in the palestra where he's dunking, jumping off the same leg with the same hand. That's a clip from the palestra. But we didn't really talk about that much getting older. I mean, he played in some crazy games in some great arenas as his career went along. But I think you start to realize as you get a little bit older.
So with you and Kobe, did you ever beat him in a game of horse?
Funny you say that. We didn't play horse that much. Played a lot of one-on-one, not horse. I think when we were younger, so Cole was 3 years older than me, we would play horse. He'd actually play with his left hand. We're playing, I'm like 9 and he's 12, right? So I couldn't compete or shoot as far. So he'd compete with his left hand. So the games that I did win, they don't feel as special or right because he was playing left-handed the whole time. You look back how good his left hand was, but he was always using it early.
Heck, left-handed or one hand behind his back or whatever it is. I won a game of one-on-one against Kobe. I'd be darn proud of that.
No, not one-on-one, not 1v1. Now, when we played, I didn't beat him, but a couple horse games, yeah, but he was playing with his left.
What's it like to play high school basketball in Philadelphia? Because that is one of those cities that has a legendary history of producing player after player.
High school ball in Philly for me was amazing, and I'm a little bit older than this generation, so during that time, and it's similar to now, like with the Big Five, you have so many schools, not just colleges, high schools in one area. And it's fortunate for some of the coaches in the Big Five where we can visit many schools within 1 hour, right? Like you can drive all over and see different prospects. So like when you're playing, that competition is everywhere. And in the summer, you can play against everybody and you can play against some of the top prospects. You can go to these gyms and not only high school talent is in there, but you can play against some of the older guys, right? Some of the college guys that are around. So I think you're a little bit spoiled to be a high school player in this area because of the competition, the range of schools in a tight area. I think New York is similar to that, but Philly's a smaller city than New York. So it's really condensed and you just get really good competition.
Growing up, who are some of your athletic idols that you enjoyed watching?
I try to look at guys like my game kind of modeled. I liked Sam Cassell, Chauncey Billups. Also like guys who my game wasn't like, or I wasn't their size. Really liked Bird for his style of play, how skilled he was, his pace. I just not 6'9". I liked Magic a lot. Again, I'm not 6'9". I like Charles too. But again, Charles is a 6'5" power forward who was a crazy athlete, so that was different. But those are guys I really liked growing up.
Bird's game, I would say, was almost a little bit gritty in the fact that I would say he got more out of his talent than a lot of other players, just in terms of the star players. Like, I don't think he had necessarily the physical gifts of the Magics, the Kareems, even somebody later like Hakeem Olajuwon, but his grit level was off the charts.
Yeah, it was that. And he was extremely skilled. Like if you're looking at athleticism, no, and he's not as gifted as his competitors. But if you want to compare it to Luka Doncic, a Jokic, right? These guys, in athletic ability are not there, but could argue the best players in the world right now just because of their IQ and skill. And I thought Bird was that in his generation. As far as the passing, the shooting, even the rebounding, the feel, I think it was second to none.
When you see a player, whether we're talking Bird, Luca, whomever, that has that high IQ, as a coach, how do you try to communicate to your players that sometimes it's not always about athleticism, but it's about how you see the court and just how smart you need to be while you're out there?
Well, you try to show them. And if you look at the game now, I think the players are so skilled. How everybody's shooting the ball, handling the ball. The younger players that are coming up under Kevin Durant's and the Kyrie's and the James Harden's, they're extremely skilled and you can show them the pace of all their favorite players. You ask them who their favorite player is. If you just look at how they play the game and the poise that it's played with, you can start showing them the skill through film and how these guys approach everything. So you try to teach them that, right, from drill work, individual workouts, and they get it because most of their favorite players now play with that pace. They are skilled. This new generation of players is phenomenal. The Shea Gildresses, the Wimbies, they're special. So most of the time that their favorite players play that way. So it's kind of easy to break it down for them.
Looking back at your time as a college player and even as a high school player, do you wish you had access to a lot of this video that you could see the Birds, the Magics, the Charleses whenever you wanted to kind of study their games more?
Oh my gosh, yes. But if you're in this generation, you're kind of spoiled. You don't realize the access that you have. So being now as a coach, like you can bring up anybody in a second on your phone from YouTube or even on social media, right? You can get reels, you can get videos, and you pull something up. So yes, wish I had it. But now that we do, as a coach, you can break it down and show your guys too. So still able to use it to help.
I almost wonder if there's too much video where everybody's looking at stuff rather than just trying to process the game, regardless of the sport.
Well, one, there's a lot of highlights or these short clips, so-called reels, and you're not watching everything. So that will make you skip steps. So maybe you're moving too fast instead of just concentrating on one thing, which my family was real precise on that. Try to get good at something for a little while and work on one thing first. And then maybe after 3, 4, 5 months, then you get on to the next thing. But sometimes you're just seeing highlights and clips and not watching everything.
Speaking of working on something for an extended period, what was something that you had to work on maybe longer than something else before you finally got comfortable with it as a player?
It was probably my decision making, like playmaking for others. It's different now. I think the NBA is positionless, where you'll see scoring guards can bring the ball up, can learn to run the team. During my generation, you were kind of labeled at a position. So being 6'4", I should have been more of a point guard. So when I came out, I had to kind of work on that. It wasn't until I was playing with the Sixers Summer League, Maurice Cheeks helped me with that. Saw my value at the one position, and it was something I had to work on. So I went back overseas, took a couple jobs at just the point guard position, and I had to develop and get my pick and roll playmaking better, breaking my guy down, drawing somebody, making a pass for my teammate to make a shot, and just leadership at the one position. So that took me some time. That wasn't a 1 month, 2 month thing. That took a couple of years actually. But that was an area I had to develop, and I did it more in my mid to late 20s.
Love the fact you brought up Maurice Cheeks, who I think one of the most overlooked point guards of his era and of the last 50 years. What was a piece of advice or something that he told you that stuck with you to this day about how to play at the one position?
Really, I think that's where the poise came in. Just stay poised and use my size because at the one, you're big now. Take advantage of that, use that. So I did. I think I slowed my game down even more. That helped me make reads better because I was playing at a slower pace. And I started realizing I was bigger than most of the guys now playing that position. That was something he brought to my attention and obviously shifted me there, which helped me make that team.
How hard was that transition from basically playing more of a shooting guard in high school and college to the one as a professional?
It was tough at first. I struggled a little. And then sometimes you feel, are you producing enough? Are you leaving your imprint on the game? I think when you're supposed to score, it's kind of easy. Go out there and get 20, 25 points. You're doing your job. But what does that look like, particularly in Europe, if you're at the one? Does that mean 10 assists every night? If you get 3 assists, did you have a good game? Are you doing your job? So sometimes you don't feel like you have. You start realizing it's not just your assists, it's your leadership. How many turnovers are you having, or is the team having? Are guys in position? Are you leading on offense and defense? Are you putting guys in place? Are you making sure other guys playing the best in their role? And the more you learn that, you get more comfortable that you're doing your job. So it was tough and it took some time. And then doing it, I was playing EuroLeague, so it was even tougher, but I figured it out.
How did you end up playing in France?
My first job coming out, I came out, I had some workouts, Sacramento, Sixers, the Nets, didn't make it. My agent was Ben Pensac in Pensac Sports, Adam and Ben Pensac. I had a job that came up in France at Chalon. It was a good opportunity and to where I signed. Ended up in France. It could have been anywhere, but it was there and it was a good deal at the time. I took it. That's how it happened.
Well, we've talked about leadership and you're going to France, and I know that there are other international players there, but there were also a lot of French players. Was there ever a language barrier that you had to contend with?
In the beginning, yeah, I was fortunate. There were a couple other Americans that were on the team that were helping me. John Best, Arthur Lee. Arthur Lee went to Stanford. Guys that were helping me out and transitioning. Being a rookie, they were a little older. And you start picking up basics like basketball language. And you start learning some of your numbers from 1 to 30, basic plays. Sometimes are color calls. You learn those. Coaches try to work with you. One of the assistants will have some English or broken English, and you adapt. And you learn the basics so you can get by. It's a good thing because then outside of that, you're learning another culture. So it's good.
Did you ever become fluent in French?
My French is okay. I think I get by okay. I was just there a couple of weeks ago. It's not the best, and you can hear my accent, but yeah, I can get by okay.
Speaking of just going back to France, you were inducted into a Hall of Fame, correct?
I was. That's why I was back. It's fortunate. I had a lot of good teammates, some good coaches, and yeah, it was a very nice experience with STB Le Havre. It was a great club, some good history, and the organization is doing well.
What was it like to play in Le Havre? Not so much from the athletic side, but what was it like just to live there and get to experience the city?
What's up in Normandy? It's changed. It's developed like so many other parts of the world. When I got there, it wasn't nothing like it is now because they just added more hotels and businesses and restaurants, clothing stores. They got a mall. They have a beach. It's expanded and it's developed. So throughout those years, it actually got better. More tourism, people coming from London. But in the beginning, it wasn't as much. I think I was there in like '06, '07, my first year there, and it wasn't as developed. They had the beach, we had the gym, but outside of that, it wasn't much. Some good French restaurants that were there, they used to go to, but from there to my last year, it just changed. And it was a nice place to be now.
Do you miss any of those French restaurants or easy access to the beach?
Yes, I do. A lot. I miss a lot of French food in general. Miss the bread, miss the chocolate. Oh man, I miss a lot. I can't even eat dairy here. And in France, I can. Their food is good. It's easy on my stomach.
There is something about French and just European chocolate in general that tastes better, in my view.
Just teleport and grab some baguettes every day and some croissants and some pastry every day. That'd be nice.
Taking a little bit of a step back here, how did you end up going from one coast to the other?
So my father, Chubby Cox, he played at Villanova for his first 2 years, and then he transferred to San Francisco. They were actually number one in the country when he went. Went for Boyens, James Hardy, Bill Cartwright played on this team in the 70s. So my father's an alum. And then my mother went there as well. She was a cheerleader. So both of my parents are alums, always spoke highly of the city, the school. So I just knew a lot about San Francisco before even going. So it was always a place in a school that I was familiar with and was curious about.
Did you have any other offers outside of San Francisco?
Yeah, I did. I had some offers locally. I think Villanova, St. Joe's, Syracuse, and Cincinnati, and Virginia, and Providence. I committed to Pepperdine actually. Lorenzo Romar was there at the time, and then he left, so I decommitted from there. At that time, I didn't have many options left because it was late. That's when I went up to the north part of Cali, to the Bay, and chose San Francisco.
Pepperdine is a beautiful campus.
Me and my cousin Cole, we would work out there all the time, so I really liked it.
You have a favorite workout story with Kobe?
One up UCLA, UCLA, we were playing. We go there sometimes. And normally we play to something, right? We play to 11, win by two. But that particular day, really getting into it. So we just played to infinity. Like it was basically you play until the other person just stopped playing and quit. He just wanted to see my will and if I could just keep playing. I thought that was just different. You never play till somebody just stops playing. That's the person that lose. So that was a little different. I've never done that. But it just came from us getting into it a lot on the court.
Did it ever get physical with you guys? Like somebody have to break up a situation just because both of you were so highly intense on the court?
Nah, not really. It would get wild, and sometimes I might walk off because I want to fight him or something. But he was still a little older than me, and we get really physical and wild. And at that time, Kobe was just impossible to guard. Not that he had changed as he got older, but He's super athletic then and could dunk everything and had all the skill. It was crazy. But nobody have to break us up. I think when we were younger, people might have to break up my older brother and them. They were a little bit closer in age of playing, but we never had to get separated.
In terms of defending Kobe, how did defending him help you in your game, defending other players just because of the challenge it was to defend your cousin?
It didn't even help me defend, it just helped me compete. So for the rest of my life, whoever I played against, I just had the ultimate confidence to play against them because I played against him all the time. And even when we got in the NBA, we would still play one on one, and I didn't beat him, but there would be games where I'd get right there, like getting on 11 and I get to 10. He win by two and he still win by two. And so I'm like, my cousin was one of the best players in the world, right? If not the best. So if I played against whoever, I just felt like I can get the better of you because of playing against my family for so long. So it just gave me extreme confidence against whoever.
When you got to San Francisco, because your dad was such a good player there, was there any pressure on you to maybe live up to him?
I guess, but at the same time, it didn't bother me too much. I just would try to be the best I could be. And I think it helped having my dad too, right in my ear and just let me be myself. And that's what my entire family did. My cousin, my uncle, and my father with their careers and their success. I think it was just go out and be you and they support you no matter what. So obviously you want to do good. So I think just the support and love from my circle made it easy.
What are some of your favorite memories of playing at USF?
So program shut down a little for some years for some violations. And as part of the kind of rebuild of it, they made a tournament in I think 98. And then we didn't make it throughout my career. So I think my senior year, we were on the bubble, didn't make it, but made the NIT, which was phenomenal for us. And that was good. And then obviously some of your big games. One was against Fresno, which was a special night for me. That was phenomenal. Right before our Christmas break, had a special night at home, which was phenomenal. And then even on my senior night with my parents out, that was special as well.
What made the game against Fresno for you so memorable?
Just for the break, I think I had family out. Whenever they're there, it helps. My cousin would come to some games as well. He didn't come to that one, but I had 30 something, I think was my high. So that was special for me.
With having your cousin and parents and all that coming out to different games, did that add any level of pressure? They're there to see you. I need to play well.
It did, especially early in my career, wasn't performing as I thought I could. Feel a little embarrassed after that, but naturality, you're okay. But it was tough. Like my freshman year for sure, because my role wasn't like that. I'm a freshman. And I thought that coming, I had some high major schools. I mean, I thought going to mid major, I would be able to come in and be the guy. And it wasn't like that. You had older guys, you had to go through the process. So that wasn't my role. I had to wait my turn. I had to earn it. It would be frustrating having your family there and not being able to do what you thought you could do right away. That was a little tough and it just took time. And that's what now I just try to explain to some of the young guys. They're not getting that right away to go through it. Just keep working, put your head down, and you'll get it because I didn't have it right away.
Was there any thought, either during or after your freshman year, of transferring to go play somewhere else?
Yeah, there was. It definitely was for sure. And then you got the noise in your ear. Like, my grandfather was mad. I'm all the way out here. I could have been at wherever, even back at Nova. Or, I remember Cincinnati was on me really hard, and they were the number one team in the country. Here I was playing limited minutes in San Francisco, far away. He was telling me to come back home, but I just felt like I didn't want to quit and felt good being away as well. And just makes you more resilient. And I stuck it out, and it worked out.
Now, as a coach, since you mentioned the noise in the ear from different voices, how do you explain to players what to listen to and maybe what not to?
You try to just give them real examples of the process. I try to tell them my situation, like what I went through, some of what I just spoke to you on, and let them know it works out. I'll use examples of my cousin. Kobe actually didn't start until his third year in the NBA. His rookie season was frustrating for him. His second season, he actually started in the All-Star game, but he didn't start on his team, being a sixth man and just going through the grind of it and trying to block out that noise and the social media. Even if some of their friends or peers are posting things of their success, just telling them it's okay to be patient, put in the work. And then I think when you give guys real examples and can share with them and let them know that you've went through something similar, that they can understand that, they hear that. So that's what I try to do when they're going through something and how to get through it.
At San Francisco, there are some great venues that you play on the road in the West Coast Conference. What was your favorite place to play on the road?
One of the most memorable ones was at Gonzaga. I think it was like my freshman year. It was before they opened their current arena. But my freshman year, there was a scene that happened, this moment where we were in a timeout and the crowd was going crazy. Coach calls the timeout. We were on the court. We're standing up. Might have been a 30-second. And a fan, mind you, we're standing. Coach is in the circle that the players are making and staff. And a fan with no shirt on runs from the bleachers. Now, I'm not playing a lot, right? I'm a freshman, so I kind of see this guy running. And he slides on his belly and goes under some of our guys' legs and just like, and his head is like sticking up in the huddle, like in the middle of our huddle. And I'm cracking up. The ref comes over, security comes, throws him out the gym. But it was just one of the wildest things I've ever seen. And it was fun being there. Their fans were great. The atmosphere is phenomenal. That place, it was fun to play at. So I liked going to Gonzaga.
I don't think I've ever heard of fan doing that.
It was hilarious, but it was wild. Ever since then, it was always exciting going there.
St. Mary's, who also has a pretty good tradition in the West Coast Conference, Santa Clara as well. Can you kind of talk about the West Coast Conference in terms of the level of basketball? Because a lot of people in the country don't get to see it because their games don't start until so late.
It's really good. It's a good level. Some of those teams have been consistent and had some success. I love the style. I think when we were playing, it was you get up and down a lot. The offense, you're fine threes, the pace is good. It's a little different than the Atlantic 10. And it's good basketball. Guys are skilled, good coaching. It was fun to play in. I think over the years now, you got to give a lot of that credit to Gonzaga and just the consistency and what Mark Few has done with that program. It's just amazing. St. Mary's now, too, has just been really consistent. Things are changing, being shaken up. So a lot will be the history now, but people out west appreciate it and who are seeing it in California in particular. Good teams, good coaching, fun to watch. So West Coast Conference is legit.
When you were at USF, did you ever get to meet any of the legends like Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Bill Cartwright?
Well, Bill Cartwright, again, played with my father, and I know Bill. He's a good guy, bit of a mentor. Met Bill Russell a few times. Went for Boyne to play with my father. He gave me some good advice throughout my college career. There were also some other athletes. There were some baseball athletes as well that would connect with. But I would say Bill Cartwright probably the most, though, that I connected with.
When you were in San Francisco, did you get a chance to meet, let's say, like Barry Bonds or any of the other athletes that were also playing in San Francisco at the time?
I never met Barry Bonds. Met his father, Willie Mays. So when I was there, my head coach, Phil Matthews, was really good friends, almost like best friends with Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker was the manager for the San Francisco Giants. So he'd always have tickets and stuff for the games. We had access to go down and watch a lot of the Giants play. I'm a Phillies fan, but then I grew to be a Giants fan as my second team. So I would take advantage of that a lot and go down there. Fortunately, I would meet all the players, but Barry Bonds had his own locker room, so I didn't really get a chance ever to meet. He was separate from the team, but got a chance to go to those games of the World Series when they played in Anaheim, which was great. I became quite a Giants fan from being there.
What was it like to go to a World Series game? That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Barry Bonds, he's my favorite player ever. Offensively, I think he's probably the best player I've ever seen and probably ever to play for me, just because it's the era and what I saw. Obviously, during that time when Sammy Sosa, McGuire, and Bonds, and that was amazing for baseball. I'm in college and the prime for me watching and being a fan, it was amazing. And the fans in San Francisco are amazing. So was lucky we were spoiled at that time.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous, although I can't be too jealous because my team won the World Series last year in the Texas Rangers.
That's your team too, huh?
They're my team. I never thought they would ever win the World Series, and when they did, I almost couldn't believe it.
That's great.
I know you have to run in a few minutes, and I want to make sure I get this in. You represented Venezuela in the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio. For people who are unfamiliar with your connection to Venezuela, could you kind of talk a little bit about how that came about?
My father, Chubby, played in Venezuela, while my mother, Victoria, was pregnant with me. So I was born in Caracas and I had citizenship. So my birth certificate and first passport were Venezuelan. I started playing with that national team later in my career. First time I played with them, coaching was Eric Musselman, who coaches at USC now. Eric really recruited me and said, John, you need to come back and play. They were trying to get me to play since I was in high school. So everybody close to me, friends and old teammates, like nobody knew that I was Venezuelan until I played in the Olympics. And they're like, where'd this come from? But not knowing, like I competed with that team for years before. Like we almost made the 2012 Olympics. Another guard I played with, Gravis Vasquez, was on the team. Went to Maryland, played in the NBA for some time. When we were like a game from making it, we lost to Lithuania in a qualifier. So it could have happened in 2012 as well. But I was playing with that team for some time. Fortunately, in 2015, we won the pre-Olympic tournament of FIBA Americas. We won. We beat Canada, actually. We had Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, I think was a first-round draft pick that year, and Nick Stauskas. The whole team was NBA guys that played in the Olympics in 2016, which was like the pinnacle to high of my career.
Were you at the opening ceremonies? Did you take the lap around the stadium in Rio?
That was the best part, actually, just because the setup was phenomenal. Everything they put into it was incredible. And being able to share that space with so many great athletes and everybody's just being themselves and down to earth felt amazing. And I was just fortunate and lucky to be able to experience that. But yes, I was able to do that.
What was it like to get on the court in the Olympics and share the space with Carmelo and Durant and Draymond and players like that?
It was good. I'll try to leave it all out there. That USA team was obviously very good, and hence why they won the gold medal. But it was nice. That was probably my best game, but not as efficient as I was, but just leaving it all out there, being aggressive, and I had the confidence to play with those guys. I think that's for my family and playing against my family throughout my life, feeling like you can play out here, but it felt good. And the setup was great. They did a really good job. It felt incredible.
One of the things I remember from that game, and I'm sure you've probably either heard about it or perhaps watched it after the fact, is Marv Albert talking about your dad and his career as well. It was kind of like a history lesson on the Cox family.
I didn't hear it. Like the footage I saw after was from our video guy, break it down still, but I kind of missed it. But if he did break it down, that's kind of decent.
It's something that's probably worth a watch, but that's what I remember most about that game.
I got to check it out, listen to that part of it. But most of those things, again, I've seen were probably off of our video guy and Synergy, but it's minus the commentating.
In terms of playing in the Olympics, because it was later on in your career, was there a sense of vindication that everything that you had gone through from playing at San Francisco to playing in Europe, and now you're playing against the truly best in the world and you were able to hang with them?
Yes, it felt good. But I think the year before of what our Venezuelan national team accomplished, that felt the best. We went through the pre-Olympic tournament with some juggernauts. I think some good coaches were there. I think Calipari was coaching. Bettino was coaching the team. One was coaching Puerto Rico, other coach of Dominican Republic. Argentina was loaded. They had a really good team. Scola was leading them. Again, that Canadian team was really good. And to be able to go through those teams and be a big part of that for the Venezuelan national team, Venezuela accepted me in that because I was naturally born there but not growing up there. That felt really good. So by the time getting to the Olympics, we were confident, felt like we belonged because we put in the work. And at that point, yes, going through everything and being there then just felt really good.
Because I know not all national teams train in their country, some do it internationally. Did you ever train and play games in Venezuela for the national team?
Yes, we did, but that was in 2012, we might have, when we played in that pre-Olympic tournament, trained down there as well. But then in 2015, we started training in Madrid and we were trained there. And we played USA before the Olympics too. We actually played them in Chicago, which was a good tune-up for us and just to see what it was going to be like. And played in the Pan Am Games. So we were in Toronto for a while, played some teams up there. But early in, I think 2012, we did play some games in Venezuela. But after that, we traveled and played outside.
For someone like me who's never been to Venezuela, and now Venezuela, because of the political situation, is somewhat isolated, what's it like to be there? Did you get a chance to go around Caracas or go see other parts of the country?
Yeah, I did. So after the Olympics, now this is later in my career, I played in Venezuela in their league, which is separate than the national team because they have a pro league there. So I got to live like a local and it was tough just with everything going on. It's been some years now, but it breaks my heart with a lot people are going through there and need a lot of prayers and a lot of support. But it's a beautiful country though, great people. I'm happy it's good food, amazing weather. But again, just the circumstances aren't good. It's difficult to live there, whether you're doing well or whether you aren't. But saw a lot of Venezuela, some nice places, and got a chance to visit some beautiful areas that my parents talked about because they lived there and I've heard amazing stories, but it's just a different time now.
When things hopefully improve, what's a place in Venezuela that you would tell everybody they have to go visit?
I think Puerto La Cruz is nice. I would go there if I was somebody. And I mean, obviously, if you're going to the capital, Caracas is nice. I played for a team called Bucaneros, which is in La Guaira, and it had a beach. And I was there a lot. It's nice right when you come in, but that's kind of like in Caracas. So you want to visit the capital.
What made Puerto de la Cruz such a amazing place for you?
It was just some of the homes that was around a body of water that was really nice. And I think a lot of famous baseball players been playing the MLB are here, and this setup for homes is just beautiful. So I think this was really intriguing. I haven't really seen anything like that before, so I just thought it was beautiful.
Why did you decide to end up hanging up your basketball shoes and becoming a coach?
I got a little older, thought it was time. Didn't know I want to coach right away until I coached like an eighth grade middle school basketball team. That told me I really wanted to coach. It felt great just being able to kind of mentor young basketball players, young athletes. And then later in my career, like I was getting jobs to kind of do that already as the older vet guy, like mentoring some of the Americans overseas. So that had the wheels turning in my head.
How did you choose to go to Salle and kind of make it a homecoming for you back to Philly?
The opportunity in Philadelphia felt greater than being somewhere else just because there's so many basketball teams right here. You got a pro team, got their G League team, 76ers, and then the Blue Coats, obviously the Salle, Temple, Villanova, St. Joe's, Drexel, Penn. So I just thought the opportunity would be good for me to try to start here because there's so much basketball.
Down the road in, say, 10 years, would you like to be a head coach?
Yes, I would. That would be the goal. Yes, for sure.
Coach Cox, I want to thank you so much for joining the I Play 2 podcast today and talking about your time at San Francisco, playing in the Olympics, sharing a few stories about your cousin Kobe. Take care. Good luck this season and wherever your basketball coaching career takes you. Thank you again.
I want to say thank you for having me on and I guess kind of reconnecting. And if there's anything else to shoot back on me on, we can. And appreciate you having me on.